Hi, world. This is Brandi Rollins. I am the director of the summit. I am the creator of the summit, and with my team, who's out there making sure everything gets done. Welcome to the Health on a Budget Summit, and I'm so excited to have everyone here. Um, this summit this summit started out as an idea of just having a place where we could have this discussion. The idea it popped in my head, and I thought, wow, that's a really cool idea. And then the universe just provided opportunities for that idea to happen. And so all the work that has gone into this has been really to bring that idea to fruition, to really say, okay, this is a topic that a lot of people want to know more about. So let's go ahead and do the best that we can in creating a space for this discussion to take place. So often, being healthy on a budget is brushed to the side. It's like, well, buy in bulk or buy on sales, or it's just not it's not explored deeply. And what I wanted to do was to say, okay, let's create a space where this could actually happen. Let's create a space where we can have this discussion. Let's set it aside. And what started to happen was that there was a lot to eating healthy on a budget, much more than I thought. And I actually wrote, a book, a 300-page book called Raw Foods on a Budget. That was all about eating a plant-based diet on a budget. And through this whole process, learning that, oh wait, being healthy on a budget includes the eating part, and depending on your eating modality. And so we have speakers who are vegan, who are vegetarian, who are gluten free. We have speakers who are talking about, okay, let's how to eat those eating modalities on the budget, and of course raw foods on a budget. And then we have people who are talking about how to eat organic on a budget, how to eat local on a budget. And then even had the Lisa Vigor, who will be talking about. She's a creator of Raw on $10 a Day, and she's going to be talking about creating like the art of food preparation, how to create fresh recipes. Um, with time management in mind. So actually, how to create fresh recipes quick and easy, which I'm a big fan of because I like my stuff to be quick and easy. And then we'll be having tons of talks on fitness. We have Lori Painter doing a talk on fitness. And just in terms of, I'm just going to go through all the things that we'll be doing in the summit so everyone knows, like, the summit is amazing. We have 37 speakers, 37 topics lined up. And so we have Linda Watson doing organic on a budget. And her book, I have it right here, it's one of the best books ever. The best books that I've seen in a very long time. So check out that book. Then we have Lita Meredith doing local on a budget and also doing urban foraging. Like, she forages in New York City. That's as urban as you can get. And so it's possible. We have Steve Brill doing Foraging 101. Then we have Lindsay Nixon doing how to create delicious vegan meals. We have Ellen Jaffin Jones doing vegan on $4 a day. And we have Rella Kaplowitz. She's doing gluten free on a budget, and then I'm doing raw foods on a budget. And we have more and more and more. And then we have David Kimball doing how to create an effective budget, and Neil Godfrey, who's been on Oprah 13 times, which is like, I love how we use Oprah as a guidepost. And Oprah, Neil Godfrey, who's doing how to raise financially responsible children. And so having a healthy relationship with money, because it's just not about the food part in terms of being healthy. Being healthy also means having a healthy relationship with your money and appreciating the time that you spent to earn that money and using it wisely and teaching your children to use it wisely. So definitely check out those talks. And we'll be having talks on, I'll be doing a talk on how to get the most out of your budget, because I'm a big fan of using the budget to create the life that you want. That's the key to using a budget, in terms of actually sticking with the budget. Because, you're not going to stick with the budget if it's restrictive. So, and then we have that, and then we have, it's almost like I have to look at the program manual because we have so many people. Oh, and then we have Andy Frazier who's doing Feed Your Family Vegetarian on a Budget. And let's see, who else do we have? We have so many people. Oh, and then we have Satish Lohani, who is the creator of Health on a Budget, that website. He's doing Get Fit in the Great Free Outdoors. And Lori Painter, who's amazing, she's doing How to Stay Active on a Budget, and her talk is phenomenal. You have to listen to that talk. I mean, it will inspire you to start doing all these exercises, all these movements. I'm creating new movements, movements that are meaningful for you while you're doing work, while you're doing something else, while you're talking on the phone. And so that's a great talk. Oh, and we have a little bit later on today, we have Jean Christeller, who's doing mindful eating, which is another phenomenal talk. And really, I really wanted people to realize that how we eat impacts our budget in addition to how we choose to spend our money. And so, for example, I'd like to tell people that, after I had wrote, basically almost every chapter in my whole book, it dawned on me that because I'm in the area of eating behaviors, I'm doing research on eating behaviors, and it dawned on me that I'm probably like, if I cut down on some overeating, I could save money because I wouldn't be eating food. And when you overeat, you're giving your body food that it doesn't really want. And so it dawned on me to like explore that a little bit. And by changing the way that I ate, I was able to cut my budget an additional 25%, my food budget 25%. So after doing everything in my whole book, and people who have my book, I mean, it's a complete program. Um, it cut my budget by 25% by just changing how I ate. It had nothing to do with where I was buying my food. It has nothing to do with how I was preparing my food. It all had to do with what was happening between the time that I, put my food on my plate and ate it. And so that's an amazing opportunity to save more money as well. Okay, and then we'll be having on Monday night, there'll be the gardening on any budget. And so check that out. We have Steve Verall, who is known as the cheap vegetable gardener. He will be there. We have Steve Marowitz, who's doing sprouting, doing a garden in your kitchen. So if you're on the East Coast like I am, doing a sprout garden in your kitchen during the winter is a great way to just get more fresh and a variety of fruits and, well, a variety of vegetables during the winter. Because once the snow is on the ground, very few things are coming from those environments. And so having that kitchen garden is really nice. And then I'll be doing a talk on creating your summer garden, and it's really about creating a plan for a garden because a successful garden in most cases requires a plan. And so in that talk you get to learn from all of my mistakes that I've made over the last 10 years in gardening, and save a whole lot of money. And then we'll be doing then Tuesday night will be talks on how to live more on less, and so getting real abundance in your life by doing less. We'll be talking about, there'll be two speakers talking about food stamps, how to be healthy on food stamps. And so one of them is the filmmaker of the documentary Food Stamped, and so you'll have an opportunity to learn from him. And then Lena Simone, who's been eating healthy on food stamps for a very long time. You get to learn about her long-term strategies that she's used to eat, like a beautiful vegetarian diet, feed her family a beautiful vegetarian diet, and do it all on food stamps. And then we'll be having a call with Lita Meredith that night, who will be talking about how to eat local on a budget. And so, because I mean, eating local is such a beautiful thing. Sorry if I'm talking so fast. I got so much to go through. And then there'll be on day 5, there'll be eating healthy in college / time management section. And so the whole purpose of the section is kind of the emphasis is on preparing healthy meals and doing it when you have very little time. And so there will be a panel with college students who will be talking about what the strategies that they use to eat healthy while they're in college. And then there'll be Lisa Vigor, who's doing the Fresh Food Fast Talk, the art of food preparation. And then one of my very good friends, who's also one of the editors of my book, who's recently started up her business, which is called Vibrant Mama. You can check it out you can check it out at thevibrantmama.com. And what she's all about is showing moms how to have beautiful lives and be good moms at the same time. It doesn't have to be one or the other, where you're giving your kids everything, but you're suffering as well. And so, how to be vibrant and also, feed yourself and feed your kids. Um, and then the other talk will be eating raw foods for busy people. And so we have Jordan Marin doing that, and he's the author of, I'm sorry, she's the author of, yeah, Raw Foods for Busy People. And then on day 6, it's like it keeps going. All these things of being healthy, having a healthy relationship with your money, with your body, with how you eat. I mean, this is very, it's an amazing, amazing summit. And then we also have a healthcare on a budget section. It's amazing how many people have who are contributing to this section. And so we have Linda Patterson, who wrote the book Healthcare on a Budget. We have Satish Lohani, whose website I mentioned before, healthonabudget.com, whose website focuses on giving people tips how to reduce their medical costs. And then we have Diane English, who will be talking about how to spend what's the best way to spend your dollars when you have cancer. And also Chef Timothy, he will be talking about how to best spend your dollars when you have diabetes, how to be healthy, how to just encourage health in a very economical way when you are in those two different when you are experiencing those two different kinds of illnesses. And then we also have Olin Idol, who's the Vice President of Health and Nutrition at the Hallelujah Acres. They're the creator of the Hallelujah Diet, and they have a fantastic website. They're one of our sponsors. And he's going to be talking about what are the best ways to get the most out of your supplements. And that talk is I love it. It's so intelligent. Like, it was so insightful and so meaningful, and I definitely check out that talk, and that's on Thursday night. And then the last night, we wanted to make that very exciting, and so it's like strategies for finding free food. So we have 2 foraging talks, one with Steve Brill, who's doing Foraging 101, another one with Lita Meredith, who I was saying before, who forages in New York City and Brooklyn. And so that's foraging in the city. And then we have Trevor Justice from the Vegetarian Health Institute, and he's talking about what are strategies for getting fruits and vegetables for free or getting them for low prices. And he's also a sponsor as well, and he does great, great work. And so definitely check out his ebook is a part of the premium package. Um, and it's basically how do vegetarians get their B12, their vitamin D, their calcium, their iron, and things like that. And so definitely check out that book. And I would recommend, because this summit is so big and so broad, and I recommend people considering the premium package so that they can listen on their own time. And we really price things to be very affordable for people, because my interest is in making a contribution, and it's also in paying my team members who help to bring this about. And so that's what the premium package. That's what it's for, to give you information, but it's also to feed my team. Like to help them do well and stuff like that. And so and also check out the. I'm almost done with the announcements. Check out the All Star program, which is my program as business owner, a creator of Raw Foods on a Budget. So if you're a person who's interested in raw foods and you want more raw food types of books and things like that, that package includes the paperback copy of my book, Raw Foods on a Budget, which is the retail value is $25. It includes all of my ebooks. Confessions of an East Coast Raw Vegan. So if you're in cold climates like I am, how to do that in a cold climate, raw foods in real families. A book that I contributed to. It includes the summit. It's a program that keeps giving you more and more as I create more and more, because All Stars, as they know, they can tell you it's a lot of people say it's one of the best investments that they make, because you get everything that I do in the future, and I don't seem to be slowing down. So definitely check out that, and you get all the ebooks, you get everything that's associated with the summit. And every future event that I do, and you get also the upcoming 28-day Raw Foods on a Budget boot camp, which is like we really like 28 days go through this book, because this book is a program, and it's like really taking that time to work through, and help you develop help you basically cut your food budget in half, cut it by one third. I mean, we're talking about big decreases here, and really teaching you to go through these steps that are outlined in the book. And so, yes. All right. So I think and there's actually a few more announcements. So if you haven't downloaded the conference program, take a look at that. It includes all the times and dates for all the talks. So everything I just went through, you can find that in the conference program. Okay. And then the other thing, let's see. Oh, the recipe book, the Summit recipe book, which will contain over 100 raw, vegan, gluten-free, vegetarian recipes, that will be released next week, at the end of next week. And so we're still in the process of putting that together. And so just give us a little bit more time. All the ebooks for the premium package are now available, and that page should be coming up. If it's not up now, it will be up in a little bit, so that people who have invested in the premium package, which is $30. It's like 8 cents a day. It's a very affordable package. I love saying that it's 8 cents a day, because it's like it's 8 cents a day, and you get to have all this stuff. You get to download the talks when you want to. You have access to this summit page for a whole year, and it's 8 cents a day. What an incredible investment into your finances, into your financial health, and your emotional health, and your mental health. Because money is, money isn't, a lot of times people say money is a bad thing. Money is all in how you use it. You can't control how other people use it, but in the way that you use it, that should be very meaningful to you, and it should be healthy. It should enhance you and not bring you down. And money is just how we get shelter until that changes. Money has an importance in our life in providing us with the things that we need to survive and thrive as human beings. And so it's very important to have a positive relationship with your money, and to use your money in a way that feeds you and feeds the world. And by the way, I forgot to mention one of the talks that Neil Godfrey is doing, which is called EcoPath, which is all about how to use your money, and how to, like, as a family as a whole, not only you but also your kids, how to use money in a way where everybody wins. And that's the way that I approach budgeting. It's not about getting the lowest prices and somebody else is losing because they're not making the money that they deserve. It's a way where everybody wins, and that's what this whole summit is about. Everybody winning. And that's the premium package, and you also get to download these audios anytime you want. Listen on your iPod, listen in your car, listen to all the talks, and you'll get the Summit Cookbook, which is a part of the premium and the All Star package. And you'll get all the other 6 ebooks, including my ebook, Raw Foods on a Budget, which is the full length of the book. It's 300 pages, 90 recipes, and it's a pretty dense book. We actually had to condense it to 300 pages because it was getting too expensive to print. And so it's very condensed, with just jam-packed with information. And yeah, I think that's all the announcements. Um, yeah. So, and two more things. Actually, check out we have built into the program exercise and, food time. So during your lunch break, definitely go and look at the recipe sections and make one of the recipes. We'll be adding more recipes as the days go on, and during the summit. And if you purchase the premium on the All Star, you'll get access to those recipes in a primary place. I mean, most of these recipes are available publicly, and so the goal is to just get them all in one place and say, look, we found these affordable recipes, and so, definitely take advantage of them. And so, make them during your lunch break, make it during the snack break, because we also have an afternoon snack/exercise break, and during that break, you can also do exercises. We have exercise videos that we made a part of the summit, and we have more coming down the pipeline, so definitely check out that page. And so I think I'm finally done with all the announcements. So I hope everybody's as excited as I am about this summit. It's just a beautiful, beautiful creation, and it's such an honor to have been given the opportunity to be a part of its manifestation. And so thank you everyone for signing up. Tell everyone about this summit. I mean, this is like so many people have wanted this. It's here. Take it. It's yours. Take it. It was created for you. Take it. It wasn't created for me. It was created for you. And so take it. It's yours. The answer's here. No more saying, I don't know how to afford it. We have 7 days worth of material telling you how to afford it. And so take it. It's yours. So just take it. Okay. All right. So now I can just relax. And welcome to the summit. And yeah, so let's talk about how to eat healthy on a budget. And from what I can tell, yes, at 20 minutes, so perfect. I have 40 minutes to tell you about a 40 or 35 minutes to go through my number one strategies, my top strategies. That it's like what I always start off with in terms of giving people the tools to eat healthy on a budget. And the first strategy is that it's not about the price of food. And I say that because we live in a culture where people, where we buy too much. We're in a culture where more is better. And so what we try to do is that we try to create the American dream in our kitchen. And so it's like a kitchen filled with produce. We can get what we want when we want it. And, that's the ideal. Whether we are eating a diet that's unhealthy or a diet that's healthy, we just want a stocked kitchen. And it's kind of just like the norm. It's like, of course, when you have a house, you want a furnished house. I mean, it just kind of comes a part of the package. And, well, that's a very expensive package. And food is not like furniture because food goes bad, particularly if it's fresh produce. It has a pretty short, shelf life. And so if you're trying to keep it stocked with fruits and vegetables all the time, then you're going to be paying a lot for that. And that's something that has nothing to do with the price of food. That has to do with your belief around, your belief about what your kitchen should look like. This is what I should have access to in my kitchen. This is the ideal. And it's a very expensive ideal, and so I will be giving you a strategy on how to get out of that ideal in a very meaningful way. And so that'll be coming up soon. And so I always tell people it's not about the price of food. And like I was saying before early on, I'm about the way that we eat. We do a lot of overeating in our culture. It's the norm to overeat on a regular basis. Most people are eating an extra meal a day. Like if you think about each and every meal, so say you're eating 3 meals, that doesn't even include any snacks that you may be overeating. But most people are probably eating about an extra 30%, an extra 50% more food than they actually need. And most people, because we grow up in a culture where overeating's the norm, we learn very early to overeat in response to external cues. And so what that means is that eating because it's 12 o'clock, eating because the food's on our plate, eating because our friends are eating. Well, that's a very expensive form of eating. And it's not nice to your body. It's not nice to your wallet. It's not nice to your emotions if you start to feel bad about it. And so it's very constraining. It limits you. It doesn't allow you to be free in your relationship with food and money. And so if you were to add up that extra third or extra half meal that you're eating at each meal, over a day you have at least an extra meal. You multiply that by 30 days, that is 10 days worth of meals that you didn't need to pay for, that your wallet didn't want, that your body didn't want. You were just feeding this idea that this is how much food I need. Okay? And the cool part about it is, and you'll learn about this in the talk on mindful eating, is that there's a lot of baggage that comes with eating that way. You don't get to savor your food. You don't get to, your food just doesn't taste as good when you're overeating. You don't get to actually engage and really appreciate the flavors that are in your food. And so your food, honestly, just you don't get as much out of it. You also don't get as much nutrition out of it because your body has a hard time digesting food when you overeat. And so it's kind of like the only thing that you're feeding is this idea that this is how much food that I need. Everything else isn't winning. And so, yeah. And so that's another way that has nothing to do with the price of food. That has everything to do with how we eat food. Okay. And then another thing that I'll say is that because we tend to buy a lot of food, we have no idea how much food we actually need. And so what ends up happening is that we waste a lot of food. And who was telling me this? I don't even remember. I was talking to them recently, and they were saying, for every dollar that you spend on food, throw away 30% of it. Throw away 33 cents because that's how much you're wasting. So you're just throwing away your money. It has nothing to do with the price of food. So you see, these are very big things that have nothing to do with the price of food, that have everything to do with you, your relationship with money, and your relationship with food. So it's like, let's deal with those first before you can actually go into an environment where there are more affordable prices and take advantage of them. Because I will tell you, and I know people have experienced this, I have myself, before I started to realize that it wasn't me, and it wasn't the prices, it was me. I could go into a store and get low prices and still buy too much food. I could still get low prices and still, actually would probably end up spending the same amount and but feel better because I got so much more, but then more got wasted. Like, that's not really saving money, and that's not really getting out of that mode of feeling nourished by how you're spending your money. It should feel good in the decisions that you're making. Your decisions should feel good. And so there's no reason why your money shouldn't enhance your life in a very meaningful way. And so that's the first strategy. It's not about the price of food. People tend to be very tunnel vision about the price of food, and they tend to be like, okay, just focus on the price of food and ignore all the other opportunities to save money. Okay. And oh, my computer. Hold on. Plug came out. Okay. All right. We are back on. Yes. Okay, that would have been bad. Okay, and so the next strategy that I tell people is to let's see. I'm trying to think what's the best one. That some of these will be talked about in my talk. It's all a part of the package that I give people. And so the next thing that I want people to do is to think about using your budget as a way to get the life that you want. And this is actually, I'll be talking more about this. Actually, you know what? I will talk briefly about this. This will be a part of the talk that I'll be doing later on about how to get the most out of your budget. Because a lot of times when people approach a budget, they approach it in a very restrictive way. They approach it as a way, oh, this is going to limit me. This is not going to allow me to do the things that I want. And when you approach anything that way, you're not going to stick with it. It's just going to be something that's like very, unless you enjoy restricting yourself. But some people do. They like that kind of control. Most people don't. And so you're not going to stick with it. So create a budget that means something to you. Create a budget that gives you the life that you want. There's no reason why a budget can't give you the life that you want unless you allow it to not give you the life that you want. If you want to set it up to be restrictive and constraining and all those things, then that's fine. But you don't have to do that. Recognize that there's many options and relating to a budget that allows you to get the life that you want, to get something that's meaningful you, to where you love your budget. I have a program called the Budget Love Program, and it's based off the way that I approach a budget, that is designing a budget to get the life that you want. And I have to tell you, the people who I help, they love their budget after they start seeing the things that they've wanted, after they start seeing, wow, I'm spending less on food, that's what I wanted. My credit card bills are going down, and that's what I wanted. I get to do this vacation now, that's what I wanted. And you're releasing that stress that tends to get associated with paying bills and all that stuff. Your budget becomes this spending plan that you love, that you want to be a part of your life because it makes you feel better. And so that's what creating a budget is all about. That's what it should be about. And so you have that opportunity to do that. And I'll be going through some strategies to help you do that, and later on the talk today. But just, I'm going to plant the seed that your budget can be more than just something that's restrictive to you, that it can be incredibly meaningful. And I have to say, I love my budget. I have a t-shirt that says I love my budget because it's given me so much, and it's not, even though I do all these things online, I have to say I'm still in a student stipend. I'm a graduate student. And things are still tight for me because I'm interested in making sure that everybody gets fed. When I get extra money, I give it to other people so that they can have the opportunities to learn and grow. And so things are tight, but I'm okay with that because my budget allows me to share with people. It's giving me so much of what I wanted, and I walk through the steps and how to use your budget and to give you the life that you want. Like what's step one, what you need to do, step two and three, and so that'll be in the talk for this afternoon. And so definitely listen to that. All right. And so once you start to feel more positive about your budget, it's not something that's restrictive. At that point, you create your budget. It's like, okay, I'm on board. This will allow me to do the things I want to do. And and when you do actually think about what I want my budget, what you want your budget to bring to your life, include your family in it. They're part of that dream. They're a part of, if you want to spend more time with your kids, that's a part of what you want your budget to give you. You want to be very clear at what you want your budget to give you, because what you set out, what you send out to the universe will actually come to fruition. And so that's really important. And so by the time you create your budget, you and your family and even your kids will be more excited about it. It won't be something that, oh, you're taking away. It's something that's enhancing our lives. And it's really just a plan to get what I want. Okay? And so I will go through the strategies of creating a food budget. We'll focus on that. But this budget, um, this is like steps that I use to create a food budget. And I won't talk about for an overall budget because we have a talk by David Kimball, who's a financial expert, and he'll be talking about an overall budget. And so some of the things that I'll be talking about will apply for his talk as well. It will apply for your budget as a whole. But definitely check out the budgeting guide that we've provided. And he has a fantastic website. I mean, it's huge. It's one of those older, well, not, I mean, yeah, it's kind of one of those websites that you used to see that were so content based, so rich with information that you don't always see nowadays. And so his site is fantastic. So definitely check out his site. Okay, so step one in creating your food budget. Okay, so step one, you want to figure out how much you spend. Because here's the thing, most people do not know how much they spend on food. Food is one of those things, it's not like your rent, it's not like your water bills, it's not like things that occur once a month or every quarter. Food occurs for most people almost every single day. Whether they're giving their kids some money for a snack, or their kids their lunch money, or a cup of coffee, or whatever, it occurs almost every day. And so it's a type of expense that requires much more effort from us to control, which is why it's very difficult for people to control that part of themselves. A lot of people, even who are very conservative and have a budget, the food budget tends to be an area that still needs improvement because it requires much more self-regulation. Okay. And so what you want to do is as a result, a lot of people don't know how much they spend. And, I'll be going through a strategy, and it'll be the very last one. It's a strategy that I say that can help cut your food bills in half. We'll be going through that strategy. And I think it's actually after this one. I'm pretty sure it is. And by the way, I'm just literally going through my book because my book is a program. It's a complete program. And even if you're not raw, you should get the book because it blows me away that I got to be a part of this book, even though I wrote it. It blows me away that it's phenomenal, and it's the universe's idea. I was just a part of its manifestation, and so it's so much bigger than me. Okay, so anyway, the first thing you want to do is track your expenses so you can see how much money that you're spending. Okay, most people don't know how much money they're spending, so just tracking your expenses, writing everything down, and keep doing that. Write down everything, every cup of coffee, every stick of gum, I mean, not stick of gum, every pack of gum, whatever you're buying, write it down so you can really see not only how you're spending your money, but what you're spending your money on. How much money you're spending. So you can really get a realistic picture because, like I said, I would say about half of the people who I interact with through my programs don't know how much money they spend. And most people don't want to know. And you cannot improve until you know where you are. And so, even if it's a little bit shocking, are a little bit scary, just do it. Sometimes we just have to suck up the things that we don't want to do, suck it up and just do it. And I will tell you, I always admit how much money that I used to spend on food. I have no problem doing that because, it was a lot. And it just, it makes it, I don't know, it makes it it makes me more human. And so what I used to spend on food, and keep in mind I'm a raw foodist, what I used to spend on food was $500 to $600 a month just to feed myself. Could you imagine if I had a family? It would have been like a few $1,000s. And because I had the idea in my head that I needed a lot of food as a raw foodist, like the energy density of the meals are going to be low, so I need to eat more, to get as many calories. And I was always afraid of not having enough, even though you can ask all the people. Like I've had several roommates over the past few years in different places. You could ask them, like, I would always take over the fridge. There would be bowls of produce over here, over there. And I actually believed that I didn't have enough. And I've met a lot of people who have that feeling as well. Even if they'll have a full stocked kitchen, they feel like they don't have enough. Okay, and so that was part of me spending a lot, and I just thought that a plant-based diet had to be expensive. I just accepted that assumption. It doesn't have to be. We choose to be in the assumptions, whether we're making assumptions or not. If we're, we can choose for it to be affordable. We can choose for it to be cheap. It's really our choice. And so, and I'll try to fit in a little bit in terms of finding affordable sources for foods, because that, for me, that part comes later. Once you get yourself in check, like I was saying before, then you can take advantage of those prices. Okay. So anyway, I was spending $500 to $600 before, and I didn't know how much I was spending. I really didn't know how much. I really didn't want to know, but I did, and I track it down. And now I spend between $150 to $250 a month, depending on the season. The summer, about $150 a month. Big difference. 25% of what I used to spend. Huge. Okay. So figure out how much you can spend, and then figure out how much you can afford to spend. And part of that comes out of creating your budget. Okay, so you can use the budget guide that's on the page to create your budget. I also have an actual budgeting worksheet in the book, where you can actually write down everything. And there's also there's like a food expense tracking log in the book as well, because I really wanted this book to be, it's a workbook. It's a workbook towards creating the life that you want. Okay, so you want to figure out how much you can spend. You don't really know that until you factor in your other important expenses. So until you factor in your rent, your electricity, your cell phone bill. I mean, you also want to think about how are you prioritizing. There you go. How are you prioritizing food? Where is it falling for you? A lot of people, it's like the thing that you want to try to get as cheap as possible, without changing anything else. And that it shouldn't be that way. It's not that way in a lot of other places in the world because food is very important. But in our culture, we tend to have this habit of trying to get things as cheap as possible, while keeping everything else, while still keeping our, going out and doing all these things. And the thing is that depending on where your budget is, there may be things that, I mean, actually shouldn't be more important than food. Food should be incredibly important. You can live without movies, but you can't live without food. Just go ahead and try and let me know how it turns out. And so the third thing that you want to do is to set your first, food spending goal. So once you know how much you spend and then how much you can spend, all right, now you know what your goal should be. If you're spending more than you can spend, then your goal will be to meet what you can spend. If you're one of the few and you're spending less than what you can spend already, then set that goal, 10 to 25% lower than what you're currently spending. See how low you can get it, because what's going to happen is that as you start saving more money, buying what you need and finding new high quality and more affordable sources for food, your expenses are going to keep going down, and it's going to go down to a level that's comfortable for you. Like, you can always get your budget down to almost zero, your food budget down to zero, but it's going to require a little bit more time. Um, and so you want to make sure that you have enough time to be able to do that. No, I'm sorry. I mean, you want to make sure that what you end up deciding on is actually going to fit your lifestyle. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted with something on the screen. All right. So you set your food spending goal, and then you just go ahead and create your well, the next step is to go ahead and create your monthly budgeting system. And this is the last part of the budget, and it's really funny because I don't think I realized this until there was a period of time last year, right before the book had come out, when I actually, this one month, I was incredibly busy, and so I got really sloppy with managing my bills, and so I had like four late fees, and I was so upset at myself. And I happened to have this book, this great book called, I forget the author's name, but it's called "You're Broke Because You Want to Be." And if you want to kick in the butt with your budget, check out this book. It was awesome, because it really it gave me the kick in the butt that I needed at the time, and it really helped me take responsibility for my finances. Like, it was just like, this is you manifested where you are at this point, given it was only a month. But it made me think about all the other things in the past that brought me to this point. Where I do have credit card debt and things like that, and paying that stuff off. It's like, no, you take full responsibility for that because you created that. That was the reality that you created. And so what I ended up doing was to really think about, okay, well, I have this budget. I know how much I can spend. So I need to create some kind of system that works for me to make sure I return to this budget every month. And so from that, I got, okay, after you create a budget, you need some kind of agreement that you make with yourself that you're going to return to this at the end of the month. That you're going, it's called the budget management system, to make sure that you are sticking to your budget. And David Kimball, he has a way of, it's called the spending logs, and that's his way of, one of the ways he suggests. Another way is doing the envelope system, where you actually put your expenses. Well, actually, you have everything that can be automatically withdrawn from your account that gets withdrawn. So that means that you don't have to manage as much. I mean, a budget doesn't mean that you have to manage a tons of things. It just means that you have a plan. And so you can include as a part of your plan to, excuse me, you can include as part of your plan to have a lot of your bills to be electronically withdrawn, so you don't have to think about it. So the things that you'll end up being left with are things that require more management. So it's going to be your food expenses, because I don't think your grocery store will automatically withdraw money from your account on a regular basis without you doing everything. So it's going to require you to do some management of that. And then your entertainment expenses is another one. And fun money is another one. And you should always have fun money in your budget, whether it's $5, $10, $50. Have something to where you can use money in a way that's fun for you. Maybe it's a cup of coffee from your favorite place once a week. Doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe it's a trip, a bus ticket to go to the beach or something. It doesn't have to be a lot, but include that fun money, and your family will definitely appreciate having some fun money and doing things as a family. Okay, so anyway, the budget management system, what the envelope system does is that, so you have everything being automatically withdrawn, and then for the things that require more management, like the food, the fun money, the entertainment, you create an envelope for each of those. You write, food, entertainment, fun money, and you include the money that you've budgeted for that month into those envelopes. Okay, and then that's the money you have for those things. And when you run out of money, you really have run out of money for those things. So it really helps you to stay conscious, because it's like, this is the amount of money that I have. This is all that I have. So let me use it wisely. For me, what also works for me, and I'll even show you. You probably can't see it very well, but it's literally, I have a calendar of all of my expenses when they occurred during the month. And because I have, my personal expenses and then my business expenses, um, it's helpful for me to see where things are falling out, like where things are going to happen. Because if I don't, if I forget about a bill and I didn't end up having enough money, I got to make sure I find a way to pay that bill so that I don't get a late fee or anything like that, or an overdraft fee. And so that's really useful to me. So you want to think about, okay, what's a way for me to manage this budget on a regular basis that's going to be sensitive to the time that you have available. So it won't take a lot of time, but that's just going to keep you up on it. And then at the end of the month, putting into your calendar, I'm going to spend 2 hours, updating my monthly budget Excel sheet, writing it down. Actually, David Campbell recommends writing it down for the first few months, and I do as well. It's very easy to kind of forget about electronic stuff, but the process of writing is a very meaningful. Like it just has a different impact on our memory than electronic things do. Okay. All right. So we're getting there. So we're at 44 minutes. I got 16 minutes to implant as much knowledge on you as possible. Okay, and so the next thing you want to do, this is the most important strategy in the whole book, in my whole program. It's the thing that, and it's funny because it's one of the most difficult strategies because it makes us, we have to deal with just the way that we buy food, our relationship with food, but it's the one that gives us the most. I mean, that's the thing in life. Things that are worth having are things that are worth working for, and this is a very meaningful thing to be working towards. And so the strategy is to buy what you need and eat all you have. Okay. It's a very simple thing, and it sounds like, oh, that's a great idea, duh. But it's a very hard thing to get to for many people. And so, what I recommend that people do is this is a strategy, and you can find out, it's more, well, I think I actually will go through the whole strategy in the book. The strategy in my book is about a page long, it's like 2 columns, where I basically walk through it. And so the first step in buying what you need is to learn how much food you actually need. Like I was saying at the beginning, most people don't know how much food they need because they're constantly throwing out all this food they didn't eat. And so you need to find out how much food you need. You need to find out how long does it take for you to eat that box of pasta, or how long does it take for you to eat that bunch of it's not calories, but carrots. Usually when we need something, we buy a box or a bunch of it or whatever, and we don't really think about, well, how long is it really going to take me to eat this? Will I eat this before it goes bad? Do I have a plan to eat this food before it spoils? If I'm buying a bunch of carrots, will I be juicing enough to make sure I go through them, or will I be making recipes with enough carrots in them to make sure I go through those before they spoil? And the thing about produce is that you have to always remember that produce it's not like when you go to the store and you buy it, it was like picked, like that an hour before. A lot of times when you go to the store, it's been picked, 2 weeks before. And so you want to make sure that food isn't sticking around in your refrigerator for a long time, because the longer you keep it, the more nutrients it loses. Okay. And so you want to make sure that you are not keeping all of this produce and just kind of storing it, and actually investing in ways to store it. Like one of the things that I talk about in the books is how to store fruits and vegetables in ways that save you money. You get more out of them, they last longer. But you never want that to be a crutch so that you can buy more stuff that you don't need. More food that you don't need. If you don't need, like a lot of people shop at the grocery store on a regular basis. Every week you go to the grocery store. It's kind of regardless of how much food you actually have. And so what this strategy is all about is teaching you this is how much food you actually need, okay? So what you do to figure out how much you need is to make a commitment to stop where you are, and to not go to the grocery store again until you've eaten all the produce that you currently have in your kitchen. Actually, all the food that you currently have in your kitchen. It doesn't include things like spices, or if you have a 25-pound bag of almonds or whatever, anything like that, or if you have things that are stored. But it does include things like, definitely fresh produce, definitely food that's like, like if you have any kind of like baka burgers, or lasagnas, and it includes things like that. It includes your pastas, unless you have a huge big, like bag of, I don't know, any kind of spaghetti noodles or something like that. But you need to understand how long it takes you to eat this food, because like I said, most people, when they need something, they just buy it, and we don't always think how long it takes us to eat that food. Okay, so understanding how much you need is one of the best ways to cut your food expenses. You will save so much money in terms of just you at the grocery store will save so much money. You will feel more connected with your food. Like a lot of times when we go shopping, we just get what we need, we put it in the cart. We don't really think about we don't really develop a relationship with the food that we buy. We buy it, we put it away, we forget about it. We probably remember the grapes, the strawberries, the things we really want, but we kind of forget a lot of times of all the things that we got. And so in buying what you need, what ends up happening is that instead of, maybe I don't need that big bag of oranges, maybe I just need two or three. You end up paying half the cost instead of the whole bag, which and you probably the ones that you didn't need would actually go to waste. So you're like saving money in that respect. And you actually get to pick out the oranges that look the best. You get a chance to develop a relationship with that food. That food that you're buying has a plan in your life. Okay, that food, instead of it being part of your impulse buys, are just a part of you just fulfilling a emotion to, or fulfilling a fear that you have that you won't have enough. That food actually becomes a part of your life, and that's very meaningful, very, very meaningful. So give yourself the opportunity to do that. I think it's a very meaningful thing. Like the other day when I wanted oranges, and it was funny because I kind of like, the few weeks before, I had was buying bags of oranges, because it was like orange season. I love orange season. It's one of the reasons why I love the winter so much. I love oranges and greens. Oh my god. and so um, and so anyway, I had been used to buying bags of oranges. And then, I was at the store and they didn't have the bags. So I'm like, eh. And then I thought to myself, well, how many do I really need? And I was like, well, I only really want two. Okay, I just saved $4. And I was able to pick out oranges. And by the way, those were the best oranges, navel oranges, that I've had all winter. So it's just opportunity when you're learning to buy what you need. So like I said, what you do is you make a commitment to yourself to not go to the grocery store, to not buy any more food. This includes your coffee, any kind of stops. This includes everything. And the whole family is doing this. This is a family thing to do. And people may be hesitant at first, because when we tend to, like, even when we look in our fridge and we're like, oh, we have no food, what we really see is that we don't have the food that we want. We don't see all the food that we have. When this strategy first popped in my head, and I finally, it took me 2 weeks to finally agree to actually do it. So if it takes you a little bit of time to like get on board, that's fine. I was there too. And so yeah, so I remember looking in my refrigerator and I was like, oh, I have nothing in here. This is going to be super easy. I had 2.5 weeks worth of food, but I couldn't see it because all I saw is that I didn't have what I wanted. Okay, so part of this strategy is showing you this is how much food you actually have access to. And that's, you get to see all the food that you have because you have to eat all that food before the next time you go to the grocery store. You will learn how long it takes you to go through a bunch of carrots, how long it takes you to go through that celery when you just thought, oh, I needed celery, let me get this bunch. Well, will teach you how long it takes you to go through that celery. So if next time you want celery and you realize you only need a little bit, maybe it's not worth buying the celery. Maybe buy the celery next time you really want celery. Um, so that's a part of buying what you need. Okay, and through the process of eating all the food that you have in your kitchen, you will learn. the value of not wasting food. Because, and actually, the whole wasting of the food kind of comes naturally because I swear to God, the next time you go to the grocery store, you will buy so much less food because the thought of actually doing this exercise again is a little bit like, it's a great exercise, but who likes to be forced to do what they don't want to do? You know what I mean? It kind of has this negative element, this negative kind of emotion to it. And so you don't want to do it again. I mean, I love this exercise. It's one of my most favorite strategies. It's incredibly empowering to be connected to my food and to be making conscious decision how I spend my money on food. But I don't want to do it again. you know, I like to have a fresh supply of produce, and this will teach you how much food that you need on a regular basis based on how much you shop, so that you can have the food, so you can have fresh food on a regular basis and restock that on a regular basis without wasting food. So the wasting food, the part just comes along with the equation of buying what you need. Okay. And so that strategy by itself will save, it probably has the biggest impact for most people on their budgets because we're in a culture where we just buy more. And when it comes to food, we just buy way more than what we need. Even if we have everything else under control, the food part is the things that tends to get a little bit more out of control. Okay. And so a part of buying what you need, I won't go through all the things, but menu planning, and in the book I give a guide on menu planning. And actually ways of, I'll give you a tip right now. I only have 5 more minutes left in this call before the next one. And so when you do a menu plan, you always want to make sure that your recipes are using common ingredients. You don't want a recipe that uses this set and another one that uses that set, and where you need all these ingredients unless you already have them in your kitchen. But it doesn't really work all that great if you don't have them in your kitchen. You have to buy all this stuff. Your recipes in the menu plan should have some common ingredients to make sure those ingredients get used. And on the weekends, you should don't plan meals, because use that weekend as a time to go through all the extra ingredients that you have left over, and that'll make sure that you keep eating everything that you have. Okay, so eating all that you have doesn't mean that you can't be creative. You can be creative. It's just about being very, it's about being just very conscious in your choices and really utilizing what you have. That's all it's about, is utilizing what you have. And you will find that as you continue on with this activity, that the first foods that will go are the foods that you use all the time, and then you'll be left with foods that you may not necessarily put together. Well, that's an amazing opportunity for you and your kids and your family to create new recipes. And I remember that moment of having that kind of like, I was coming home from the gym, and I was really hungry, and I had carrots, and I had celery, and I had ginger and a lemon, half a lemon, and I think a few other things in the fridge. But the most thing I had was carrots because I'm not a huge carrot fan. So of course I have that, the biggest amount of that left over. And I'm thinking in my head, what the hell can I make that's going to make me feel, satisfied? Because I don't like carrots that much. And so I was like, well, okay, all right. I was getting a little nervous, and I'm like, should I go to the store? It's just right there, kind of thing. And I said, no, I'm going to stick with this. And so I was like, well, I can create a juice, and I could put a lot of ginger in it and a lot of lemon in it so that I can't really taste the carrot juice. And amazingly, I created probably one of my favorite juices that actually, it tastes good. It tastes like carrots, but it tastes like good in a way that I like carrots, which magically happened. Thank you, universe. And so that was an opportunity for me to be creative. Another recipe that I did, which I thought was just incredibly, I have never seen anyone do anything like this before. It was very novel. And it was like it was before the whole carrot thing, and I just had lots of I had maybe like a quarter of a bunch. I had a cauliflower, and I had some root vegetables, and I had like a corn, a corn husk, not corn husk, but like a corn thing, fresh corn. And then I had just carrots and just a few like kind of random things, and I thought, well, maybe if I just chop them up and I put them outside and let them sunbake, I don't know, something will happen. It'll be edible at least. And so what I did is I chopped them up, and like a stir fry. I was like, if I can make it like a stir fry or something. And I thought, well, let's see. Okay, what can help to give it flavor? And I'm like, well, I should put some salt on it. And I'm a big vinegar person, so I'm like, well, let's just put some vinegar on it, at least just make it edible. And so anyway, I put some vinegar on it, a little bit of salt, and then I was a glass casserole bowl, and I put some saran wrap over it. And then I let it sit out and then I let it sit out. Oh, and I also realized, oh my gosh, it's 1:03. Well, yes, it's 10 o'clock, so I need to actually end this call, like right now. So I'll end it in 1 second. Um, so so anyway, it ended up being amazing. It was incredibly good. And so that was just another instance of just like me being creative. And so this strategy provides so much, an opportunity for so much. And so that's the main strategies that I have. Those primary three strategies. And then, definitely listen to the talk on raw foods on a budget. I'll keep continuing. And so and these strategies, all the strategies that I'm going to be talking about applies to every plant-based diet. So if you feel that, oh, that's going to be just raw foods, it doesn't apply to me, I'm interested in plant-based diets. And these strategies I'll be talking about applies to all of them, okay? Because it focuses on fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and oils. So if those are in your diet and you want to save money on those, listen to the Raw Foods on a Budget talk, and that talk is tomorrow. Okay, so that's it. Enjoy the next talk. Thank you all for listening, and enjoy the summit. Thank you so much. Bye.